on, folks? Welcome back to Local Living ATX.
Yes.
My name is Robert Big Man Evans. This is, of course, Robert Milliken. No funny nomenclature for his name, though. We need to come up with something. I am the big man in real estate, also the big man in marketing, but I'm a big guy. We need to have something for you. It needs to be Robert something Milligan.
Are you going to come up with that?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Actually, I know his wife watches this stuff, so you can give us some of those.
She's got names for me. Yeah, no doubt about that.
So this week we wanted to talk about Indigo Ridge North project. We talked about the Bell Boulevard project, and other people wanted to go, well, what about the Indigo, Ridge North project, which is also here in Cedar Park.
Yep.
It's right on that border where Cedar Park, Georgetown, and Round Rock kind of converge. Right at 1431 in Sam Bass is where it's going. You've got all that land on the northwest corner that essentially is now going to be this big project, right? So I thought it'd be really cool. I found a couple of really great infographics that the City of Cedar Park, I'll put a link to all of this kind of stuff out there, but City of Cedar Park really is pushing this project.
Yes.
They want the people of Cedar Park to be behind this project. They realize that to get it off the ground, to make it happen, they need that part. So why Cedar Park? I thought this was a really cool infographic. Number 5 top city for growth in Forbes, right? In 2017.
Yep.
Cedar Park is growing, even though it's a landlocked city.
It is, yeah.
It's growing like crazy, right? They are redoing with the Bell Boulevard project, this kind of stuff. They are stacking everything on top that they can, and I think they're doing a really good job of figuring that part out and going, okay, what can we do to continue, right, to grow as a city, even though we're landlocked? They can't annex anywhere else, right? 11% increase in total employees in top 100 companies. I think that's been a big push. I lived in Leander until 2011, but then have lived in Cedar Park since. And I know you've lived in Cedar Park for a while as well.
Yeah, over 19 years.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job of identifying this little bitty town in Northwest Austin, identifying what they needed to do to get more employers here.
Yeah, and I think they understand that Cedar Park has largely been a residential community.
Absolutely.
And the tax burden has fallen almost entirely on those residents, right?
Yes.
And when you are able to bring larger companies in and create a more diverse economy, and it's not just based on residential property taxes, you can ease the burden on your residents, right, in terms of the property tax. So I think they've done a good job with that. I'm excited about the project. Obviously, we want to be mindful of exactly what we do, but I think they're doing a good job of mixing these together and putting it in a location that's accessible. When you get out there on Whitestone, you're accessible to 35, you're accessible to 183A,
and they've already expanded 1431 along that stretch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So from a infrastructure standpoint, I think it's opportunistic.
Absolutely.
Right? And they're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? But I think it's opportunistic. Number 3 top cities for millennials. Look, I'm a Generation Xer. I know you are as well. Millennials, Generation Y, Generation Z. Look, they have to prepare when you're doing these projects that take a decade to fill out. You have to take into account that we're getting older. Right? This is not necessarily being built for us.
Right.
You and I are going to live in a neighborhood, going to live in a house for the rest of our life. That's the way we are. But millennials and the next generation may not do what we do.
Sure.
Right? That kind of thing. Austin being ranked number 1 place to live in the U.S. Look, this says U.S. News 2018, but it was just again done in 2019. Austin is just that place. And companies are moving here. Apple spending $1 billion on a new campus here in Austin, that kind of stuff. Number 6 best places to raise a family, schools, right, that kind of stuff. Right. Again, I think this is very smart by Austin and surrounding cities have invested in these kind of things. Right. These things don't happen by accident.
No.
They happen by design, right?
Sure.
And they've done, and of course, number 2, fastest growing large metro based in job growth, and that's important in jobs. People don't move places where they can't find work.
Sure.
I think our effective unemployment rate in the central Texas area is below 2%.
It's incredibly low. I believe it's the lowest in the state.
And when I say effective, I'm talking about people that are actively searching for jobs. Right? People that even move here without a job, which I've had clients with that like that, that move here without a job because they know they can get a job.
Sure.
Right? In the industry that they're for. And this other one, look, this is a rendering of how it's supposed to look. There's been 2 big renderings. The first one was before the United States Tennis Association,
which is the current major tenant.
Absolutely, but before they had, this project was supposed to get off the ground even without this.
Sure.
But they announced 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was. It wasn't that long ago.
It's been certainly 2019 in the spring.
Right.
Yes.
They announced that the U.S. Tennis Association, right, the largest tennis association, came out and signed on to be a part of this project to give it like this big anchor sponsor, right? This is part of what we're going to do. This is part of how Cedar Park's going to make money,
right,
and that kind of stuff. So they had the first rendering that looked really nice, and then they added this rendering with, as you can see, the tennis courts and stuff like that. The really cool thing in the reading of this that I thought was awesome is they're identifying parts of this entire complex, this entire building this out. They're trying to do it, and it's because of the Austin weird thing. They've actually named these little neighborhoods.
They have.
So you've got this tennis part that's going to be all about tennis and supplying that.
Right.
And then you're going to have a part of the entire complex that's like South Austin, and I forget what the name of it is. And again, I'll put links to all this below.
Right.
But like, it's going to be the music district of this complex.
And that's one thing you find with a lot of these developments is they don't just want to provide, residential spaces or places that employers can take over. This particular project, and most of them, are going to have open spaces. You're going to have park spaces. You're going to have quite a few outdoor spaces. You're going to have areas where you can have concerts, where it's an entertainment type district that will have areas specific to lots of demographics, whether it's college age crowd or families,
right? Absolutely,
things like that. You're going to have areas within these developments that will cater to all those different people, and of course the idea is to bring more of a sense of community.
Absolutely,
with these kinds of developments.
Well, and and you and I were talking about this before we started this video, that this kind of project has been tried to get off the ground for several years now.
Sure.
This is not a new thing. The concept of bringing residential, commercial, right, and everything else together in almost a micro community, a micro city, right?
Sure.
Where idealistically people can, look, this has been Disney dreamed about these kind of environments.
Sure.
50 years ago, right? One of my favorite cartoons back in the day was the cartoon where it showed the house of the future, right? And that kind of stuff. So this is an interesting concept that, quite honestly, it hasn't been built yet. They've talked about it forever. And if they can get this one off the ground, you're talking about a $1.5 billion project right there, the timeline from 2019 to 2026.
Right.
If this happens in any way close to what they imagine, it should be a beautiful thing to behold when it's all done.
Yeah, obviously this is to some degree a little bit patterned after the Domain.
Sure, absolutely.
I think as Austin grows, like any city, right, you have to have amenities near where people are. No one wants to no one wants to come from Cedar Park to Barton Creek Mall, or in the old days to Highland Mall, which was more central.
Right.
What might take you 15 or 20 minutes 25 years ago now may take you 45 minutes just to get there.
Yeah, living in Cedar Park, I'm not driving to the Domain unless I have to.
Yeah, and so and so you want things that are near where your residents are, so that you can provide services that they want, and they don't have to get in the car and spend 2 hours of their whatever allotted time they have sitting in traffic. Right?
Well, not to mention the money and taxes, like you mentioned earlier, stay in Cedar Park as well.
They stay in Cedar Park as well.
That turn around and benefit you, your kids, your schools, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I think that's an important reason as to why these projects, you see there's a project in Pflugerville, somewhat similar to this. I think there's one in Leander it's not
Leander
yet,
is
being talked about.
Absolutely.
People don't want to spend all their time in the car, and unfortunately, Austin is at a point where it's going to continue to grow. We don't see any signs of that slowing down.
Not unless in the next decade when they're building these.
Yeah, I think the population's supposed to be over 4 million by 2040. Mm-hmm. So that's almost double what we are now. You need to take that into account as you plan cities and provide services for the residents of those cities.
Absolutely. Okay, so that is essentially Indigo Ridge North, are our opinions on it, for whatever that's worth. Mine more so than his.
Sure. Sure.
Don't ask my wife, because she'll tell you. But anyway, so as always, folks, we appreciate you. If you have questions about Indigo Ridge North, the Bell Boulevard project, or whatever other stuff you want to know more about local living ATX, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Robert and I have talked about it. We're going to have something in the next couple of weeks where we go. I have kids. I know a lot of you do. He's got a daughter as well. We're going to come out with a series for Local Living ATX about summer camps.
Summer camps. Yep.
And some of those. So we're going to go be visiting some of those. And we're going to talk to some of those people. So if there's a particular summer camp or a type of summer camp that you want more information on, put the stuff down below. We'd be happy to add them to our list. I think this is going to be fun because there's summer camps out there from everything from building robots to my boys went to one last year out in Round Rock where they got to ride horses.
Yeah,
and
you've got music, you've got art, you've got STEM, you've got all kinds of different camps for different sports,
and they're all 1 week, so you can see and do a lot of them.
Yeah, and so if you're just looking to get a little quiet time.
Is there a camp for that?
It's okay. Yeah, you just send them to
any
the camp.
camp.
Yeah, you just
any
send them to
camp
the camp
where they
and then you get some quiet time. So if that's your motivation, you can put that down below as well, and we'll give some recommendations.
We'll figure that one out. As always, folks, we appreciate you. Please subscribe down below. We'll get to you and see you next time.
Thank you.